You think you could last on that field? You picture yourself standing shoulder to shoulder with warriors, shield in hand, bracing for the clash. You imagine courage, adrenaline, maybe even glory. But the truth? Against William the Conqueror's army at Hastings, you wouldn't last more than a few heartbeats. Steel would meet flesh before you even understood the rhythm of the battle. The noise alone would shatter your resolve. The fear would drown you before any blade did. You'd last seconds, if that. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on bell icon so you never miss history told like this. The year is 1066, and England stands on the edge of destiny. For centuries, the island has endured invasions, shifting rulers, and fragile alliances, but never before has its crown felt so precariously balanced. Edward the Confessor, King of England, is dead, and with him goes the fragile peace. The throne is claimed by Harold Godwinson, England's powerful earl. Yet across the sea, in Normandy, Duke William insists the crown was promised to him. What happens next is not simply a dispute between men. It is the collision of two worlds, and you, if you were there, would have been caught in the maelstrom. The field where this all plays out will become legend, the Battle of Hastings. It is here that William the Conqueror's army at Hastings will show why history remembers them not as reckless adventurers, but as disciplined masters of war. To understand the terror you would have faced, you must first understand the world they came from. Normandy, a duchy carved by Viking bloodlines and hardened by continental war, breeds a kind of warrior England has rarely seen. Their strength lies not only in brute force, but in organization, in strategy, and in the unrelenting faith that their leader's cause is sanctioned by God himself. Now imagine yourself in Harold's army. You would be part of the Fyrd Common, men summoned to fight, wielding axes, spears, and makeshift shields. Your training? Minimal at best. You are expected to hold the shield wall, a centuries-old tactic the Anglo-Saxons trust above all else. Shoulder to shoulder, shields overlapping. You are part of a living wall of wood and iron. It feels safe at first, solid, impenetrable. But what you don't yet know is that William the Conqueror's army at Hastings is built to break walls like yours. And they will, as dawn rises on October 14th. The landscape is quiet, almost deceptively so. The air is damp, the ground soft beneath the feet of thousands. Harold's men line the ridge of Senlac Hill, a strong defensive position overlooking the Norman advance. They are tired. Many marched south in brutal haste, after repelling another invasion in the north at Stamford Bridge. Some still bleed from those wounds, yet they stand, because retreat is not an option. For England, this is the last stand. Across the open field, the Norman host stirs. Horses stamp the earth. Archers string their bows, knights adjust their saddles. You see the banners fluttering, the cross of Normandy shining in the morning light. William himself rides among them, clad in mail, helmet gleaming, voice steady. He is not just a duke today, he is a man who believes himself chosen by heaven. He carries the Pope's banner, a signal to his men that their cause is blessed. To them, this is not merely conquest, it is destiny. And here lies the first great myth. Many picture medieval battles as chaotic brawls, men charging in blind fury, hacking until exhaustion claims them. But William the Conqueror's army at Hastings was not chaos. It was choreography. Archers at the front, cavalry on the flanks, infantry in disciplined ranks. Each had a role. Each knew the rhythm of battle. Against such orchestration, the shield wall will face its greatest test. The first arrows darken the sky. The whistling sound tears at your nerves before the iron tips even strike. Shields absorb some, but not all. Men cry out, horses rear. Still, the shield wall holds. For a moment, you believe you might survive. But survival is not victory. And William knows patience. His archers retreat, his infantry advance, and the clash begins. The impact of shield against spear is like thunder. The weight of Norman infantry presses against the English wall. Spears jab, axes swing, shields splinter. You feel the vibration of every blow through your arm, every impact rattling your bones. Blood sprays, screams fill the air. But the line does not break. Harold's men are stubborn, their discipline fierce. For hours, the ridge holds firm. To you, trapped inside this grinding stalemate, time becomes meaningless. You are no longer a man with a name, but a fragment of the wall, fighting because stopping means death. But William has something Harold does not. Horses, the Norman knights circle, probing, striking. retreating. Their hooves churn the earth, their lances pierce where shields falter. Against cavalry, the shield wall is not a fortress, it is a cage, and soon, the first cracks begin to appear. You think you'd stand tall, brave, in the face of death. But here's what you don't realize. The mind breaks before the body does. Imagine hearing the sound of charging hooves, dozens of them pounding like drums of doom. Imagine seeing armored men taller than any you've ever known, riding beasts that seem bred for war. Their eyes are fixed on you, lances leveled, momentum, unstoppable. You raise your shield, but your arms shake. You don't know it yet, but your seconds are numbered. And then comes the turning point. Somewhere on the field, a rumor spreads. William is dead. The Normans falter. Some turn back. Hope surges through the English line. The impossible suddenly feels within reach. For a heartbeat, you dare to believe that England might hold. But William is not dead. He tears off his helmet, rides through the chaos, and shouts for all to see. He lives, he fights, he commands. The tide turns instantly. The Norman advance resumes with renewed fury, and the trap begins to close. For Harold's men, the battle is no longer about victory. It is about endurance. For you, it is no longer about holding the line. It is about how long until the wall collapses around you. You tell yourself you'll fight until the end, but when the shield wall begins to falter, the panic spreads like fire. Men stumble, shields drop, gaps open. The cavalry seize it, and the slaughter begins. And here is the cliff's edge of history. What happens when discipline finally gives way to fear? Because once the wall shatters, no man survives as an individual. They run, they are cut down, they are trampled. The field that was once quiet in the morning now becomes a graveyard by nightfall. And at the center of it all, William the Conqueror's army at Hastings proves why the world would never again look at England the same way. The question is no longer whether you could have survived. The question is, could Harold? And as dusk descends over Senlac Hill, the answer will be written in blood. Long before the clash of swords on Senlac Hill, the fate of England was already being sealed across months of intrigue, oaths, and betrayals. To understand why William the Conqueror's army at Hastings struck with such fury, you must trace the path that led them there. The battle did not erupt from chaos. It was born from promises made, bonds broken, and ambition that would not be denied. And if you imagine yourself one of Harold's followers, you would realize the storm was building long before you lifted your shield. Edward the Confessor's death in January of 1066 ignited a power struggle that would redefine England forever. Edward left no heir, but plenty of claims. Harold Godwinson, England's most powerful nobleman, was crowned king almost immediately after Edward's burial. It was a swift move, a necessary one, designed to prevent chaos, but in Normandy, William saw this as nothing short of betrayal. According to Norman sources, Edward had promised him the crown years earlier. Even worse, Harold himself had allegedly sworn an oath of loyalty to William during a visit to Normandy. In the medieval's world, such an oath was sacred. Breaking it was not just treachery, it was blasphemy. So when Harold took the crown, William prepared his answer. He rallied allies, secured the Pope's blessing, and began constructing a fleet. His purpose was clear: to claim what he believed was his by right. But crossing the channel with thousands of men and horses was no small task. Weeks of waiting stretched into months, as contrary winds held his fleet back. Meanwhile, Harold prepared for an invasion. Both men stood on the edge of history, watching the horizon, waiting for fate to turn. But Harold's troubles did not come only from the south. In the north, a storm brewed. Harald Hardrada of Norway, one of the fiercest warriors of his age, laid claim to the English crown as well. His invasion brought death to England's doorstep before William's fleet had even sailed. In September, Harold Godwinson marched his army north to meet the threat. At Stamford Bridge, he achieved a stunning victory, crushing the Norwegians and killing Hardrada. But triumph carried a hidden cost. His men were battered, exhausted, many wounded, and as they celebrated victory in the north, William finally crossed the channel in the south. Now imagine yourself among Harold's men. You have fought at Stamford Bridge. You have seen the blood-soaked river, the fallen Norsemen, the terrible ferocity of battle. You have marched hundreds of miles in blistering haste to confront the Normans. By the time you arrive near Hastings, your legs ache, your stomach is hollow, your shield arm throbs. You are alive, yes, but you are not ready. War has no pause button. It demands more of you when you have nothing left to give. For William's men, the march is different. They have been waiting for this chance, their morale sharpened by the promise of reward. The Pope's banner rides among them, a sign that their conquest is blessed. And William himself leads with a singular vision, not just to invade, but to remake England. His army is not a ragtag levy. It is a coalition of trained cavalry, disciplined infantry, and archers who understand how to soften an enemy before the killing blow. Where Harold relies on tradition and terrain, William wields innovation and calculation. And so, as dawn breaks over October 14th, the armies finally face each other. Harold takes the high ground on Senlac Hill, his men forming the legendary shield wall. You take your place within it, shield edge pressed against the next, wood and iron forming a barrier of men. It feels solid, it feels safe, but safety in war is always an illusion. Across the open field, William the Conqueror's army at Hastings readies itself with unnerving precision. You see rows of archers, ranks of infantry, the restless silhouettes of mounted knights. This is not the kind of enemy your fathers faced. This is something new. The opening moments of battle are not the clash you expect. They are silence, broken by the sound of horns, the shuffle of feet, the creak of bows drawn back. Then, suddenly, the air is alive with arrows. They hiss through the sky, some finding their mark, others thudding harmlessly against shields. For Harold's men, this is just the beginning. For William's, it is the first stroke of a carefully painted picture. When infantry move in, you brace yourself. The sound is deafening metal against metal, wood against wood, the grunt of effort, the scream of pain. You taste iron in the air, feel sweat trickle down your face. The shield wall holds, for now, but William is patient. He does not throw everything at the wall at once. He tests it, presses it, learns its weaknesses. He knows that to break it, he must bend it first, and then comes the cavalry. You hear them before you see them, hooves pounding like thunder, growing louder, closer, unstoppable. The line tightens, shields locked even harder, as fear grips the men. The knights strike, their lances probing, their swords hacking, their sheer weight driving into you. Yet still, the wall holds. The English are strong, stubborn, bound by tradition, but tradition alone cannot win a war. William the Conqueror's army at Hastings is not here to fight tradition. It is here to annihilate it. Midday arrives, and still the ridge holds. You are exhausted, your arm numb from holding your shield, your legs trembling, but the Normans are relentless. Attack after attack crashes against you, and each time you resist, the price is higher. Dead men lie at your feet, their blood slicking the ground, their bodies forming obstacles you must fight around. Yet William does not despair. He adapts. It is then that fortune takes a dramatic twist. A portion of William's forces begins to retreat. Panic ripples through the English ranks as cries of "They flee!" echo down the line. For Harold's men, this is the moment they have been waiting for. Some break formation, chasing the enemy downhill. You watch them go, perhaps even feel the urge to follow. But this is no mistake. It is a trap. William has staged the retreat deliberately. His cavalry wheels around, encircling the pursuers, cutting them down with ruthless efficiency. What looked like weakness is revealed as cunning. What seemed like victory becomes disaster. And with that maneuver, the shield wall is weakened. Gaps open where men have fallen or broken ranks. The cavalry exploit them mercilessly. Each crack widens into a fracture, each fracture into a collapse. You are still holding your shield, still pressing against the men beside you. But now you feel the tide shift beneath your feet. The wall is no longer a barrier, it is a crumbling dam against a flood. By afternoon, the battle has become a war of attrition. Neither side yields completely, but the balance tips steadily toward the Normans. Harold's men fight bravely, but bravery cannot patch holes in the wall, nor can it stop the relentless cycles of arrows, infantry charges, and cavalry strikes. You wonder how long you can endure. Minutes, seconds. The answer depends not on you, but on the will of William and the fate of Harold. And it is Harold who now becomes the target. High on the ridge, surrounded by his huscarls, he fights with the ferocity of a king who knows his kingdom teeters on the edge. His presence is the glue that holds the wall together, the beacon that inspires men to keep standing. William understands this. If Harold falls, England falls with him. The Normans focus their fury on the English king. As the sun begins to sink, the climax approaches. Norman archers take aim once more, their arrows arcing high into the darkening sky. Somewhere in that deadly storm, one finds its mark. Harold falls. The shield wall, already fragile, crumbles into chaos. The Anglo-Saxon line disintegrates, men fleeing, cut down as they run. William the Conqueror's army at Hastings surges forward, seizing the moment. Victory, long contested, now belonged to the Normans, and you? You are either dead where you stood, or running for your life, pursued by horsemen who will not spare you. Either way, your seconds have long since passed. As darkness cloaks the battlefield, William surveys the carnage. The hill is strewn with bodies, the air thick with smoke and grief. But in the silence that follows, one truth becomes clear. England has been conquered, not just by force, but by a new way of war. The world you thought you knew has ended, and the one that replaces. It will be unrecognizable, but victory on the battlefield is only the beginning. For William, the true challenge lies ahead, not in winning England, but in holding it. And the shadow of rebellion will rise sooner than he expects. The battle may be over, but the war for England has only just begun. William the Conqueror's army at Hastings has triumphed, yet victory on the field is only the first step toward ruling a kingdom that does not want him. If you imagine the terror of facing Norman cavalry in battle, imagine now the dread of living under their boots. The conquest does not end when the swords fall silent. It deepens in the uneasy silence that follows, when survival depends not on courage, but on submission. In the immediate aftermath of Hastings, William must secure his prize. Harold Godwinson is dead, but England is not yet broken. The Anglo-Saxon, nobility, thanes, and common folk alike cling to the hope that resistance might still drive out the invaders. London braces itself, the city fortified and angry. William knows that a single victory, even one as decisive as Hastings, cannot secure a throne. To be King of England, he must march on the capital, crush rebellion before it flames, and crown himself where it matters most, in Westminster. So he begins his march. The Norman army, bloodied but unbroken, sweeps across southern England. Villages that resist are burned, towns that submit are spared. Though under heavy tribute, the message is clear: resist and suffer, yield and survive. It is psychological warfare as much as military conquest. You, as a villager in this landscape, would see the smoke rising on the horizon and know what it meant. You would hear the thunder of hooves, the clinking of Norman mail, and feel the same despair that Harold's men felt. At Hastings, the conquerors have come, and they are not leaving. But William is careful too. He does not simply crush. He negotiates, manipulates, and divides his enemies. He offers clemency to those who swear loyalty, rewards to those who serve. His policy is as much about co-opting the English elite as it is about terrifying them. In London, the surviving nobles debate resistance, but fear and fatigue sap their resolve. By Christmas Day of 1066, William enters the city and claims his crown in Westminster Abbey. Before the eyes of God and man, he is anointed king. What began on a battlefield ends in a coronation. England is his, and yet the shadow of Hastings lingers, because to the English people, William is not a rightful ruler. He is an intruder, a foreign invader backed by a foreign pope. The Norman conquest is not just political. It is cultural, social, and psychological. Suddenly, England is ruled by men who speak French, who enforce new laws, who build stone castles where wooden halls once stood. The world of the Anglo-Saxons, with its traditions, its language, its ways of life, begins to vanish, and for those who resist, the price is heavy. Rebellion breaks out almost immediately. In the north, resistance flares. William marches relentlessly to stamp it out, unleashing fury in a campaign that will come to be known as the Harrying of the North. Entire villages are burned, crops destroyed, populations starved. It is not a battle but a purge. The conqueror who once fought with calculated precision now rules with ruthless brutality. To resist William is to invite annihilation. To live under him is to accept a new reality in which survival means obedience. And yet, even as he rules through fear, William transforms England. Castles rise where none stood before. Great fortresses of stone like the Tower of London, symbols of dominance and control. Feudal law takes root, binding lords and vassals in ways the Anglo-Saxons never knew. The church, too, shifts allegiance, its leaders replaced with Norman bishops loyal to the king. Even the land itself is catalogued in the Domesday Book, a monumental survey of England's wealth and resources, designed to ensure that nothing escapes the conqueror's grasp. In every way, William imposes order on chaos, reshaping the island in his image. But let us not mistake order for peace. For the people who lived through it, this was not the dawn of stability, but the twilight of freedom. To an Anglo-Saxon farmer, the world feels alien overnight. Where once your earl protected you, now a Norman baron demands your labor. Where once you gathered in a hall of timber,